Here I have a VOD from LEC playoffs. I will be looking at the mid lane matchup between Vladi and Caps. They're playing Akali into Viktor, and they didn't play this laning phase well at all. There is a shit ton of mistakes from both sides. And so let's get into it. One thing to mention is Caps is late to his lane, but it doesn't matter in this case. It has absolutely no meaning because Akali cannot do anything about it. Akali doesn't want to push the wave. Her pulling the first wave doesn't do anything. Like, yes, in theory, if she pulls it down, it's a little bit easier for her to play. But the difference between having the wave here and here is marginal. So it doesn't matter that Caps is late. What matters though is what Vladi did to the wave. So Vladi, just like every other mid laner would, set it up his last hits. So he auto-attacks this minion, and then he auto-attacks that one. And the reason why it's weird is because both of these melee minions get about the same amount of aggro. Normally, what you do as a mid laner is you set up your minions in a way where they will die one by one, so that you don't have two minions dying on the same timer. In the case of Vladi auto-attacking both of these minions once, he will end up with both of them dying on the same timer. Usually, this is bad. However, in the case of Akali, this might actually be good, because then all she has to do is Q both of these minions, and she will last hit them with a single Q usage. Whereas if she tried to set them up in a way where, let's say, this minion dies first and then this is second, then she wouldn't be able to last hit both of them with a single Q. Therefore, she would have to walk up to one of those minions and auto-attack it, and therefore she would end up taking probably quite a little bit more poke. So I think that Vladi is actually setting up the minions perfectly here with these auto-attacks. I think this is all really good. On the other hand, Caps arrived to lane late. Now he's looking to step up, land some auto-attack poke. Vladi is spacing around it, obviously. Then he auto-attacks this minion, and it's important that he auto-attacks it. Because if he were to wait and not auto-attack the wave at all, then he would end up with this minion dying on the same timer as these two minions. And so he wouldn't have a timer on which he would be able to poke Vladi. Because instead of poking Vladi on these last hits, he would have to last hit his own minion. So it's important that he kills it early. At the same time, I forgot to bring this up, both mid laners want the wave to push into them. Akali wants the wave to be somewhere around here, and then Caps wants the wave to be closer to this wall, but also on his side of the lane. Because first of all, Akali is playing overextended into him. Every single Q that Akali throws in exchanges is being thrown through the wave. And then most importantly, because the wave is so close to this upper wall right here, she can only play through one side of the lane effectively when it comes to finding any kind of exchanges. And so for that reason, Vladi wants to do the opposite. He wants the wave to be in the middle, but on his side of the lane, so that then he can play through both sides pretty comfortably. So because of that, neither one of the mid laners is randomly auto-attacking the wave. So he gets the last hit, and then we have the first exchange. And there was at least 3 mistakes that happened here. So first of all, the positioning, okay, the most obvious one. Viktor should be standing outside of his wave. He doesn't want to give Akali the ability to both get the last hits with her Q, and on top of that poke onto him. You just don't want to be running into it. This can be good, and this is different, his positioning, when these minions are full HP, okay? In that case, you can stand inside of your wave, because every single Q that she throws makes the wave push faster towards you. So in that case, it's good. But in the case of the last hits, yeah, it's bad. Another mistake that he made is he overclicked into Akali. So here already, somewhere, he can start casting his Q. But he is going for extra clicks forward. And now, there's 2 reasons why he might have done this. First of all, he is bad at the game. And then second of all, it's because his Q range is higher than his auto-attack range. And as you will see in this game, he will end up making this mistake, which is where you get to cast your Q, but because your opponent has hands, you don't get to cast your auto-attack. Because by the time your Q is casted, your opponent is out of your auto-attack range. And so he optimizes for it by not casting his Q max range, but instead clicking a little bit extra. In my opinion, it's still a mistake because Akali is forced into locking herself in an animation on the same timer as your Q animation. And so either way, you should not be in a position where you will not end up dealing the full damage from both your Q and your auto-attack. And so this extra click forward that he goes for here is a mistake. And it ends up with him, as you will see, taking the damage from the Q and blocking nothing. Absolutely nothing. And so far, Vladi played perfectly. But then he also ends up making a mistake. He doesn't recognize that this minion is in last hit range, is getting focused. And he doesn't recognize that he can keep on chasing here, probably land his Q, probably his passive, get a very good exchange. Instead of doing all of that, he clicks back. Happens. And then we are in this position, And this is a stalemate, okay? Neither side can do anything. Vladi doesn't want to walk up and trade because he would be trading through a full HP wave, so he would be pushing the wave even harder into Viktor. And there is a massive difference between having second wave here and having the second wave meet here, okay? Vladi prefers this. So for that reason, even though Viktor's Q is on cooldown, Vladi is not stepping up and trading. On the other hand, Viktor is not looking to trade because his Q is on cooldown. So it's a stalemate. Neither side is doing anything. But now it's different, because now both these minions are going to be about in the last hit range of Akali, so Akali needs to step up and look to cast her Q to get those last hits. And Viktor makes the same mistake again. Caps needs to click to the side. He cannot be standing inside of the wave, because this Q is not making the wave push faster. All this Q does is it makes Akali happy, because she gets to both Q the Viktor and also get the last hits. After which Caps recognizes that, hey, I need to kill this minion ASAP because I want to still fight for level 2 advantage, and the wave will either way continue to push into him. On the other hand, Vladi needs to decide, does he play through this side or that side? There is a somewhat substantial difference, okay? If Vladi is going to step up this way and pull the wave, then he will end up pulling this wave up. If he does it through both sides, then he pulls the wave down. Pulling the wave down is better. So you don't want the wave to be closer to this wall. It limits you, okay? It turns you into a cuck. Instead of having the wave meet in this position, you would much rather have the wave be closer to the middle of the lane. But he doesn't recognize this, he doesn't adjust his positioning well enough, and therefore he ends up pulling the wave upwards. Meantime, Caps, perfect positioning, perfect spacing. In this case, he's allowed and he's supposed to stand inside of the wave because the Q that is being used by Vladi is being used on full health minions. So the wave pushes even more towards Caps. So this is good, the spacing is perfect, the turn of auto attack is good, but now we have this exchange. And this exchange will happen over and over again, so just remember this. Caps goes for his Q. By the time he wants to cast his auto attack, Vladi is out of range. Once again, his auto attack range of Viktor is lower than his Q range. So whenever you go for Q and auto attack rotation, you need to make sure that you can always cast the auto attack part of your skill rotation, because it's the main damage portion. In this case, he wasn't able to do it. So what he should have done instead is go for auto attack first and then Q. That's how you optimize for the fact that your auto attack has a lower range. So when you go for auto attack and Q rotation, you can always cast both of the abilities. And yes, it will deal like slightly tiny little bit less damage than Q and auto attack, but at least it's a consistent way of landing your skill rotation. This isn't, as you can see. He just lost his Q and dealt little to no damage. Vladi, amazing spacing all around. And even though, once again, Viktor has all of his abilities on cooldown, Vladi doesn't want to trade because of the same reason as previously. He doesn't want to push the wave too much into Viktor. I would still argue, by the way, that this is a trade timer because I don't think the wave is gonna be that fucked if you like trade here with W and Q. But he's justified in not going for the exchange. That's what I'm trying to say. And then instead we have this exchange. And as you can imagine, this exchange was misplayed again by both of them. So on this minion, first of all, you can trade with your Q again. He did this previously, where on last hits he would throw his Q in a way where he only hits Viktor in the last hit, which he can do here as well, because Caps is once again mispositioning. He should be standing inside of his range minions. But that's like a smaller detail. The big detail is this exchange that is about to happen. Caps goes for Q and auto attack, which is terrible. When you go for Q and auto attack onto Akali that has her W up, then what she should be doing and what Vladi will do later on in this game is he will react to the Q animation and press his W on it. And even though he gets hit by the Q of Viktor, at least Viktor will not be able to cast his auto attack afterwards. Because by that point he will be already in his mist. So Viktor will once again lose out on the main portion of the damage. And as you probably know already, because of that, Caps should be going for auto attack and Q rotation. And then Vladi makes a mistake of not casting his W fast enough, after which he is just not using his skill rotation properly. So here already, Akali should be casting her Q max range, after which she should just walk out, pick up her passive, walk back in, auto attack with your passive, another Q, and you're happy. During all of this, Caps will have to choose, okay? He will have to choose between clicking under his turret and not taking any damage, or what's most likely gonna happen is he's going to tank a shit ton of damage from you in exchange for those minions. But instead of doing all of that, he chooses to walk in melee range. He's probably waiting out Viktor's shield at this point. He doesn't wait it out long enough, so he ends up dealing the damage through the shield, and then he just Qs. So he basically just throwed his skill rotation. So yeah, that happens. Now Caps recognizes that he can probably step up because Vladi has his W on cooldown, and Vladi has two options. Okay, one. Okay, at some point he will have to step back in and tank some of the damage for these last hits because he doesn't want to be denied all three of those minions. So at some point he will just have to take some of the poke. It doesn't really matter if he does it on this minion or on that one, but at some point you have to step back in and trade some of your HP for the access to the wave. He chooses to be denied this range minion, which is fine, and then he will play on the second range, on which he cooks Caps again mechanically. So Caps goes for his Q and auto attack rotation, which in this case is more justified. However, as you can see, it's inconsistent, because if your opponent is good at the game, he will just outspace you. In this case, he's more justified because there is a last hit on which Akali is very likely to play, but I would still argue, obviously, that going for this rotation in particular is bad in this case. Vladi plays perfectly when it comes to his spacing, but now he is about to get a stroke. So, we have Viktor with no abilities up. The wave is pushing into him. The wave position is fucked. If you keep this up, then the fourth wave meets here as well, which is a disaster. You don't want the wave to be on his side of the lane like that. You want the fourth wave to be here. So what should Akali do in this case? Well, she should use the fact that this guy has no abilities up, and that you have all of your abilities up, and hard push this wave. Trade limited amount of your HP for a push on this third wave, so that the fourth wave meets in the middle of the lane. An alternative approach is allowing the wave to bounce back into you, so that you put limited amount of damage into the wave, and you hope that Viktor casts some of his lasers, some of his auto attacks onto the wave and pushes it towards you. In my opinion, using Q and W to first of all trade through the wave, and second of all push it, is the best. But let's see what Vladi does. So, it seems like he wants the wave to push back into him. That's what I thought when I was watching it at first. So I was like, okay. Then he auto-attacks a melee minion for fun. Sure, maybe he misclicked. But then, he does this Q, where he Qs intentionally through both of these minions, as if he wanted to push. So he just, he has no idea what he's doing on the map, on this third wave. Zero fucking clue. Zero clue. Absolutely clueless. And then Caps makes the same mistake again. This time he gets punished, as you can see. He goes for his Q, tries to auto-attack. Vladi is fast enough this time. And it might seem like Vladi is about to totally cook Caps, but then Vladi is doing this. This skill rotation from him looks good, everything is perfect. Now all he has to do is just click back in with an auto-attack from the passive and an E, and it's perfect. I don't know. I have no idea why the fuck he did this. Zero idea. And then Caps got stun locked, I assume, because instead of clicking up and trading first of all on her W and E cooldown, and then second of all on the fact that she has no energy left even to cast her Q, instead of clicking forward, Vlad uses E and then clicks back. And he continues to click back, acting as if Akali was about to ult him, or as if Wukong was about to gank, even though it's not a gank timer. So yeah, it's just confusing. Then he gets clapped again on the movement, this time not justified at all in the Q auto attack usage, but I'm not gonna repeat myself. And now, as you can see, the fourth wave is in a shit position again. But the roles are now reversing a little bit when it comes to what both champions want to do relative to the wave. Caps will start running out of mana in a second. By the fifth wave, he will be likely out of mana. With that in mind, he wants to get a reset timer on the fifth wave. How would you do it? From this position, you stack up this fourth wave with the fifth, and then you crush the fifth. You hard push the fifth wave, get a reset, and then you're back in lane, happy and healthy. So Akali wants to do the opposite. Akali wants the wave to still push into her, because she wants the wave to be on her side, but she doesn't want to give him the crash on the fifth wave. So what it means for her is that she needs to make sure that at all times the wave is slow pushing into her, but it's not a huge ass stacked up wave. So she will need to reduce the wave at different points in the laning phase. That's the idea. Here she used her Q for this range minion, whatever, I'm not going to talk about it. I think she should have 100% went for the exchange on this through these minions, but yeah, she wanted the range minion. And then here again, I think she should be going for an exchange, especially on this last hit. She opts not to do it, okay? Then on this last hit again, she can go for the exchange with the Q, especially because this minion is dying on the same timer. He doesn't do it again, and it's already getting like odd, because he had like 3 different timers to trade on. He didn't use a single one of them. So like, yeah, that's a little bit weird. You don't want this guy to be healthy, because if this guy has 70% HP by the 5th wave, then you have no pressure. Even if you land all of your abilities, you just don't kill him. So you need to make sure that both the wave is pushing towards you, but also this guy is a little bit poked, so that he has to at least worry about playing on the 5th wave, and whether enemy Wukong will gank, if he can get killed, even solo killed. But Vladi doesn't do anything. And now finally he stepped up and he played on Viktor's last hit, which is really good. He burned his bone plating, and now he's in a good spot. So now all Vladi needs to do is let these minions kill, these minions, on the 5th wave here, trade through the wave with all of your abilities, poke this guy down, and spam ping Wukong to run mid, on this guy having no mana. That's all, that's it. But instead, he takes this trade timer, which is probably the worst one that he could have went for. This W usage alone makes it so that Caps no longer has any pressure at all on this 5th wave. There is no kill threat, there is no even gank threat realistically. He's never dying, and so now he can just comfortably hard push this 5th wave, because Akali wasted her key cooldown right before the timer on which she is supposed to use it. So now 20 seconds, W cooldown from Akali. Caps can just hard push the wave on this timer. So every single ability should be going through the wave, right? Kappa Chang's Deluxe. Instead, he'll cast his E to deal the bonus 60 damage onto Akali, as if it's gonna change anything about the outcomes of this laning phase, which, spoiler, it won't. Another Q onto Akali. Meantime, Akali, throughout all of this, just so we're on the same page, should be reducing the wave still a little bit, like killing this range minion is probably enough. But it's like a minor detail, otherwise she's doing fine. Caps is continuing to end, another E used on the Akali, as if he was about to dive her, which he isn't. And now he ends up crashing the wave. Just kidding. Because he waited so long with hard pushing the wave, Akali can comfortably hold it in front of the turret without losing any significant portion of her HP, because the wave crash is so late. Not only she didn't lose any HP, but she also managed to cancel Viktor's reset. And even if Viktor gets his reset in the end, he still ends up losing like 2 minions out of this wave, which is still a disaster in this laning phase. Viktor is supposed to be the one that gets the advantage, not Akali. So Caps is just misplaying. And now Vladi should be stepping up and trading, because this guy has no mana. If Xin shows himself on this timer at 4:02, he is losing the game, because his Krag's respawn is gone, his Raptor respawn is gone, his whole family is gone. He cannot show himself mid. He can't. So Vladi should be clicking forward and trading, because if he shows, he loses the game. If he doesn't show, Caps has to click back and lose entirety of this wave. But he doesn't do it. I mean, he kind of clicks forward, but here he doesn't commit with W and auto attacks. He doesn't look to take aggro and pull the wave a little bit further back, which will become important in a second, as you will see. And instead he waits. What is he waiting for? Nobody knows. And now Caps gets to reset, because the wave is now back slow pushing into him, and Akali is effectively forced into hard pushing it herself, because if she chooses to slow push it, then she might have problems with actually crashing the 7th wave, which is the cannon that is coming right now. And so Caps is forced into taking a reset. As you will see, he will take it. He's not going to cancel it once he sees that Akali is hard pushing, because if he cancels it with the mana that he has left, then not only his jungler's losing his camps, but also he's probably getting dove. Rakan is moving first, Aurora is moving first, everyone is going mid, and this guy is just dying. So he cannot cancel his reset. Akali hard pushes the wave. I'm gonna skip it at this point. And then she is taking a reset herself. And then Caps is sad, because he ended up losing a laning phase to Akali as Viktor. Mainly because of his wave management for the 4th wave, but also because he was incapable of throwing his skill rotations properly. On the other hand, Vladi played pretty bad when it comes to both his skill rotations and then also his wave management. But because Caps wasn't able to prove the advantage, he ended up winning in the end. And so that will be it for this VOD. I've enjoyed reviewing it. Bye bye.